Let's go on the bench. What you say, I'm obsessed.
Hey, what's up guys, Impulse7 here, and today I'm bringing a new video. In this video, I'm going to be doing my summary for The Puppet Carver. Now, the book came out today, from when I'm recording this. I'm uploading this tomorrow, but, yeah. The book came out today. I got it around, like, 3 p.m., and the first story was pretty good. Haven't read the other two yet, but, yeah, I took notes. As always, I took notes while reading, so that I could do summaries on them, on the stories. And yeah, the first story is pretty good. It's not like amazing or anything, but it's pretty good. There's one element in it that I don't like at all, but yeah, let's just get to the summary. So the main character of the story is Jack. He's the owner of a pizzeria called the Playground, and the pizzeria has animatronics. The story starts off with Jack angry that his restaurant is kind of dying. Less people are coming to it and he's making less money. His restaurant seems to have the mediocre melodies because it's stated that a pig animatronic had broken down. This is also said to be the third animatronic to have broken down in the past month. One of Jack's employees, named Sage, is working on a novel called The Puppet Carver. Roll credits. In all seriousness, Sage's book is actually inspiring another employee named Porter with some elements of his creation. He is working on something that can turn regular pieces of wood into an actual, fully functional animatronics. It sounds a bit weird, but it surprisingly works pretty well. He does a demonstration for Sage and it is said to be working well. Jack gets kind of pissed off because he thinks Sage and Porter are doing nothing, so he just yells at them. So yeah, you can probably tell that Jack is a pretty angry person. He's not really that nice. Sage and Porter don't really like him, and he's never really in a good mood. But as we see later on, he has some similarities to both Mike and William, but like I'll get to that later. Pretty much, I mean, I do like Jack as a character because like him being a dick, it's obviously intentional, and it's actually entertaining to hear about, to read and stuff. So yeah. Jack's blood pressure is mentioned a few times in the story. I don't really know why, but it is. Maybe it has something to do with, like, I don't know, remnant and stuff. I don't know. Maybe it has to do with Mike turning purple, because it's pretty much bruising that he turns purple because of, obviously he's rotting, but, like, he turns purple because he's bruising. Anyway, let's just move on. So then this little girl shows up in the restaurant, and Porter's kind of surprised because no one really comes to the restaurant anymore. She's excited about a bear animatronic named Baron Von Bear. I know I don't know, it's a bit weird. He might be a reference to Freddy, but he could also be a reference to Ned Bear due to Pig Patch and how the story is likely about the mediocre melodies. It definitely could be Freddy, though, considering it's later stated there's a bird, too, which is likely supposed to be Chica. So Porter goes into the kitchen to find the only server left in the restaurant, which is named Angie. She's just doing her homework, and she's also studying to be a nurse. This might be a stretch, but maybe she works at the Heracles Hospital later on in the timeline. The hospital from the Man in Room 1280. But that's irrelevant. I don't know. It's just possibility, maybe. I don't know. Anyway, the cook is also in the kitchen. His name is Edwin, and he's just playing on his phone. So yeah, the story is in modern times. So even more customers come later on that evening. So yeah, I don't really know if it's more or less than usual, but it doesn't really matter. So later, Edwin, Porter, Sage, and Angie leave the restaurant after it's closed, and they decide to get something to eat. But they always eat all the leftover pizza at the pizzeria, and they're kind of sick of it, so they have this joke together that they don't want pizza. Anyway, they just eat, like, grilled cheese and stuff, or BLTs. Edwin starts talking about how he thinks the place is going to close down soon, so they should probably start looking for other jobs. Porter says the Puppet Carver might prevent the restaurant from closing, blah, blah, blah. This part really isn't that important. Anyway, Porter and Sage live together in a 2-bedroom basement apartment. This really doesn't matter. It doesn't really matter much. It's not mentioned again. So yeah, here we get to read some of the Puppet Carver story that Sage is writing. It's basically about this dude named Sylvester Pine. He's basically just talking to his creator through the whole first part. But he's not a human. He's pretty much like a robot, but made of wood. He has 3 senses humans have: sight, hearing, and smell. But he doesn't have the ability to feel anything or taste anything because, like, he's a robot. He's not going to eat anything. And, I mean, his creator doesn't want him to feel pain, pretty much. Also, it said that Sage's full name is Sage Brantley. Just thought I'd throw that out there. That's pretty much it for Sage's story. At least for this part. We see more of it later on. So then we kind of switch over to Jack's perspective when he had just gotten home. His house had been remodeled recently, I guess. That's kind of what it says here. Jack saw things around his remodeled house, and what he sees in that, he just sees money being taken away from him. Basically, he feels like his family just uses him for money and thinks he's made of money or whatever. That's what he thinks. But that's talked about a little bit more later on. So, yeah, he's kind of getting angry at his wife here because there's no good food in the house. So he storms out of the house to go get a cheeseburger, even though it's bad for his cholesterol and blood pressure and stuff. So he goes to the same place Porter and Sage and the others went earlier. The place is called Golden Heifer, I think it's pronounced. I'm not sure. By the way, he gets a double bacon cheeseburger, large fries, and a peanut butter shake. So he gets the burger, but when he starts to eat it, he realizes there's no bacon on it, and so he's pissed, and he walks into the goddamn drive-thru and yells at the lady there to get him a new cheeseburger. He just yells at her, and she's like, "This is my first day," and he's like, "If you worked for me, it'd be your last." You could just see that Jack is just a dick. So then Jack gets a call from his son Tyson, who is in college. He started to get his mood a bit lifted because, like, he actually loves his son. He cares about his son, but, I mean, he's still a dick, so. Yeah. His son tells him that he had an oopsie that cost him $900, and he uses Jack's credit card, so that was Jack's money that he used to, like, repair his car or whatever. So, yeah, Jack gets even more pissed off now. Like I said, he feels like his family just takes away his money, does whatever with it, does whatever they want, you know? So then he feels like he's going bankrupt, and so he literally searches up on the internet, bankruptcy. Anyway, now we hear more from the puppet carver story Sage is writing. Sylvester is talking to a little girl, and he asks what these things in a cardboard box are, and they're literally cats. So he pets the cat, and the girl says, "Isn't she soft?" And Sylvester is like, yeah, very soft." Like, he can't feel anything, so he doesn't know. Not much happens here. It's just Sylvester wants to be real, pretty much. That's basically his story in this part. So now we cut to Porter setting up the puppet carver machine to show it to Jack. Jack expects it to be a waste of time, but Porter's like, "Nah, it's not going to be a waste of time." So he demonstrates the machine for Jack, but it malfunctions, and Jack is utterly pissed off. He screams at them all and then tells them to clean up because there's wood shavings and sawdust everywhere. Once they were done cleaning up, Jack fires them, which is honestly stupid because now who's going to do the work? Are you going to do everything? I doubt it. So now we get more from Sage's puppet carver story. Sylvester can feel stuff now. He, like, paid somebody to make him able to feel, but, like, that made him feel pain in the process. But it was worth it in his opinion because now he could feel everything else too. He got ice cream and felt like the cold of it. He pet a dog, and, like, basically he feels alive now. So now Jack is in his office just thinking about stuff, being mad as always, but he starts hearing this ticking sound, and he has no idea what it is. He looks around and finds out that the sound was coming from the puppet carver. He goes inside it to see if there's like a button inside that he could press to make the noise stop, but when he went in, the door closed and locked him in. The puppet carver turns on now, and Jack expects that he will get carved because, like, there's blades in there, like, spinning. But instead, he hears, like, a banging sound, and then black smoke fills the area inside the puppet carver where Jack was trapped. Quote from the book, "There was a smell of ozone." Hold on a sec. Ozone? Ozone, my friend, you have officially been featured in a Fazbear Frights story. Congratulations, buddy, you are now canon. Anyways, the door opened and Jack gets out of it. So basically he thought he'd die, but he just didn't. So his survival makes him a changed man. It's a bit weird, but now he has, like, a new perspective on life. Kind of like the Saw, I guess. So he thought his previous life was just horrible. He's just like, ah, I regret this. He regretted being a dick, pretty much. So this is why I said he has similarities to Mike. He wants to fix his mistakes and right his wrongs. So yeah, he goes to the Golden Heifer. I'll just say Golden Heifer because that's how I think it's pronounced. It could be Heifer or something like that. I don't know. Yeah, basically he just apologized to the lady for being rude the night before. Then he decides to get donuts for his wife from a place they used to go on dates. Jack started hearing something walking behind him, though. The footsteps sounded wet and sloshy, like they were walking in the rain. Krakoa mentioned this to me a while ago, but he said this could be a reference to Midnight Motorist. Not sure about that, but hey, it's possible. So yeah, he starts trying to run away, but the steps behind him run after him as well. But then something pink, basically he goes into a building, and he locks the door. But something pink starts oozing under the door. It was some kind of goo, but it was alive. I think you can guess what this is. The worst story element from the Fazbear Frights books. Fazgoo. Sorry, I hit my mic. Fazgoo. I hate Fazgoo. It's dumb. Krakoa thinks it represents Remnant, which is fine, but even if it does, Fazgoo is just so stupid. Why does it exist? Anyways, Jack ran away, but the Fazgoo chases him, and it seems to have like tubes and veins and stuff too, which is weird. Jack got into a different room, and he put a bookshelf under the doorknob, but the Fazgoo went under this door too. He tried to escape through a window, but even more Fazgoo was on the windowsill. The Fazgoo has dark eyes, kind of like the Afton amalgamation, but it has no mouth or nose. When I say it has dark eyes, like it has like dark like eye sockets, I guess, kind of. I mean, there's no eyeballs, I guess. It's pretty much just black, dark eyes. So, yeah. So the Fazgoo reaches out an arm and touches Jack's face, and then he just suddenly feels unimaginable pain, but it's not like physical pain. It was all of the pain he had inflicted on others throughout his life, and it's like unbearable. But then it just suddenly stops, and he opens his eyes, and the Fazgoo was gone. So yeah, thank God. So now we cut to Jack with his wife Becky, and he apologizes to her. She forgives him, and it's all well and good. He promises to be a better husband from now on, and she promises to be a better wife. Jack calls up his son and Tyson and to apologize for being rude earlier that week. So then we cut to Sage, Porter, Angie, and Edwin having breakfast. They had gotten a call from Jack to return to the restaurant. Yeah, they got a call from Jack to return to the restaurant to come back to work, but they expected him to be how he usually is, angry. But when they get there, he's interacting with customers in like a pleasant way. He was being nice. The outside of the restaurant was decorated with brightly colored balloons, and there was a sign saying large cheese pizza, 4 drinks for $10, includes 25 free game tokens. And yeah, pretty good deal, I guess. When they go inside, Jack is really nice to them, saying he's proud of them for working hard, studying for their final exams, which will be soon or whatever. It's kind of weird, but yeah. They're also confused by this. He gives them a $2 an hour raise and says Porter doesn't have to be so formal because he usually calls Jack sir. Jack says they're here to have fun. So yeah, that day work actually goes well. The restaurant was acting like it should. Fun. A bear and a bird animatronic were the only animatronics left, but the kids enjoyed them a lot. Porter thought he might try to fix the puppet Carver later that night. So yeah, Jack starts feeling optimistic that the restaurant would do better going forward. So he offers to get Chinese for all of the other characters, Porter, Sage, Angie, and Edwin. He offers to get them all Chinese, and for himself too, I guess. I mean, he's just gonna eat together with them. Cool. He's being nice now, pretty much. After the restaurant closes, I mean. So yeah, they enjoy the food, and it's kind of hinted at that Jack is an actual new person. In other words, a Fazgoo clone, like the ones from He Told Me Everything. Yeah, I think he probably is a Fazgoo clone, but with all the memories of the original Jack, or the original Jack just told him everything, or something like that. But it's kind of weird because Jack doesn't know why he feels different. Yeah, I'm not really sure how it works. But yeah, here we see the end of the Puppet Carver novel by Sage. It's a really short part, but basically Sylvester has a daughter. I'm not really sure how that works because he's a wooden robot, but whatever. So this is the end of the story. Sage is happy with his novel, and he's thinking that he might even be successful later on in his life with his writing. Maybe even a publisher would come along and publish his novel. Anyway, Porter had asked him to scrap the puppet carver machine because Porter didn't have the heart to scrap it himself, and it was beyond repair, pretty much. So as he's taking it out, Sage could hear like a sloshing sound and coming from inside it, and smelled a rotting smell. So he goes into a drawer at the bottom of the puppet carver, and he finds Fazgoo. It's Fazgoo, but like what he sees, he just thinks it's like pink slime and human-sized organs inside. But yeah, it's Fazgoo. So he dumps all the stuff into a bag and threw the machine and the bag into the dumpster and walked away from the restaurant for probably the last time. So basically this means that the Jack Fazgoo clone was actually created inside the puppet carver, or so it seems. Or something happened, I don't know. But the important thing is that these seem to be the organs of the original Jack that were left over when Jack became the Fazgoo, and the Fazgoo became Jack, I guess. So yeah, now let's go over the details I found in the story. There weren't very many, only 6, but I think they were kind of interesting, and I hope you guys agree. Number 1. It is said that the pig animatronic, I'm just going to call it Pig Patch because that's what it is the third animatronic to break down in the last month. So there are at least 3 animatronics, right? Later, it says the stage is nearly empty, but it also basically says there's more than 1 animatronic, likely 2 left. That adds up to 5, which is the exact amount of mediocre melodies in the games. Later, it is also confirmed that there are 2 left, so there's 5 animatronics in total. Number 2. When Jack gets angry at Porter and Sage, his face turns purple with rage. Purple, huh? Number 3. Jack feels like he's going bankrupt, and so he literally searches up on the internet bankruptcy. This kind of reminds me of the bankruptcy ending from FNaF 6, especially since Jack has a few similarities with Mike and how the mediocre melodies are present. Number 4. Sylvester is talking to a little girl at one point in the story and asks what these things in a cardboard box are, and they're kittens. This kind of reminds me of that one Candy Cat story, and where how like the cats are stitched together and put into a shoebox. Number 5. I find it interesting how Sylvester is a robot that looks like a human, like Charlie from the books. And number 6. I feel like the novel is kind of like The Immortal and the Restless. The book is canon to the Fazbear Frights universe, and it gives lore for us, but there's an in-universe book that also gives its own lore. Do you guys kind of get what I'm saying? Like, The Immortal and the Restless is in Sis Location, which is canon to the games and has its own lore, but The Immortal and the Restless also gives its own lore hints too. So yeah, now I'm going to discuss a small theory I came up with from this story. I think this story was supposed to confirm MatPat's theory from a while ago. He theorized that the mediocre melodies were the temporary suits at the first Freddy's location that were used after Golden Freddy and Spring Bonnie were retired. In this story, early in the story might I add, there's a detail I didn't mention in the details section of the video because I was saving it for this. Early in the story, it is said that you can you could decorate the puppets made from the puppet carver with fur to make them look like rabbits, bears, or foxes. I think this may mean that the animatronics Freddy, Bonnie, Foxy, and maybe even Chica were actually only created in animatronic form after the mediocre melodies. The reason I say maybe Chica is because she has her own restaurant, doesn't she? Chica's Party World. Although that might be later in the timeline. I don't know. So yeah, the characters obviously existed before that because of the FNaF 4 plushies and the TV show, but maybe the animatronics themselves were made later in the timeline. Anyways, guys, hope you all enjoyed this video. If you did, please do leave a like and subscribe. Stay tuned for my summary videos on Jump for Tickets, Pizza Kit, and the Stitch Wraith epilogue. The Jump for Tickets summary will probably be out the day after this video's out, which tomorrow this video is coming out, and today is Tuesday. So tomorrow, Wednesday, this video is coming out, and then Thursday, I'm guessing the Jump for Tickets summary will be out, hopefully. So yeah, I'll see you guys in the next video. Impulse 7 out. Peace.